Okay. Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. Thank you so much for joining us at Remote Fest. We're super honored and super excited to have you all over here. I'll start with a quick introduction about myself, and then talk about a little about topic and the amazing lineup of speakers that we have. Currently we have Hufsa. She's the community manager at Google. A little bit about more myself. My name is Hamza Tahir. I'm the head of developer relations and community at RemoteBiz. And we're excited to bring this amazing panel discussion, which is the power of joining developer communities. Um, since this topic is super personal for me as well, at the same time, for all the people out there belongs from different developer communities or running communities, or who've recently joined or joined communities for a very long time. I would just start with this this emphasis that I have of benefits of joining a developer community, right? Not just a developer community, but communities in general. A bit more background on this. There's so many advantages. I'm sure all of from few of them, which I would love to mention. Peer-to-peer programming and sharing of knowledge in terms of developer communities, mentorships, network that you make, and the support or tools that you get or to learn. At the same time, if you're a developer, you get to have peers who can actually review your code, answer your questions, and bring resources to you. So there's these tremendous amount of opportunities and ways of learning that you can get from communities. If you just go a bit more about the basics, communities are usually built on shared struggles of individuals learning in a particular region, and the goals of each community actually differ per the individual's collective needs as well. But the impact that your community is creating in terms of locally or online or globally is actually is very generic, right? In terms of bringing opportunities to your communities back in your hometowns and at your country, and at the global scale as well. If you talk so For the past few years, these developer communities have grown across the world, right? There's a lot of famous programs, including Google's, Facebook's, Amazon's, Google developer groups, Google business groups, Facebook's, Meta's developer circles, and Amazon's communities or Microsoft communities. All these big tech companies they're building these tech communities to empower the local talent and bring this give gateway of opportunities back to the community. So that's a little context and a little some of the things that I wanted to share about the background of this topic. But we'll start with few of the questions that I have on top of my mind. But before we do that, we have Aniedi joining us finally, and we're super excited to have you here, Aniedi. Thank you so much for your time. A quick
Thanks,
introduction
Hamza.
about. Yep. So you're most welcome. Aniedi, he's also developer relations manager at Google. We have two Googlers over here in the session, so we're definitely going to rock this panel. And so I was just talking about the impact and opportunities and everything about the communities right before you came, and I was just going to start with a quick question that we can ask from all the panelists, which is, please tell us about your journey of joining developer communities, and what keeps you motivated to stay connected with them, right? So Hafsa.
Okay, I'll go next. Thank you so much for, first of all, inviting me. Very, very excited to be here. So, for all of you who don't know, I'm the community manager. So, I work similarly to what Hamza does. So, I'm the community manager for Google, and I manage the developer communities that we have in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan. So, 5 different countries, very different culture. And my journey with community building is very interesting, and I think a bit unconventional as well. I had the opportunity of moving back to Pakistan. So I was studying abroad, moved back to Pakistan, and then I realized that I really needed this group of people who promote women in tech, because I felt like that was something that was lacking. Looked around, found a program by the name of Women Tech Makers, where I was told that this is a platform where you can really interact with other women, create a space for women to really share their ideas. And somebody, reached out to me and said, "Hey, we want to start a chapter. Is that something that you want to do?" Back then, didn't really have a lot of idea. I say yes because I generally like to say yes to a lot of opportunities. I think a disclaimer here: I'm not a developer. I'm not even a techie. I'm just a person who's tech enthusiast, and that's how I started one of the chapters that we have in Pakistan now. It was an interesting journey, and I think that really opened up my eyes to see how impactful developer communities can be, and I think for that matter, any community to be specific, and that really gives you the space for you to really share your ideas and share your creativity with people who are like-minded. So a bit of my journey there. I'll hand over the floor to Bruce. I think Bruce, over to you.
Yeah, Bruce. So the
Uh,
question, I'll just explain the question again. So my question was that we would love to know about your journey of joining the developer communities or running them, right, and what keeps you motivated to stay connected with them.
okay. First, I want to confirm you can hear me very well, right? You can hear me fine, yeah?
Bruce, you're not. I'm not able to hear your voice properly. Yeah. I
Okay.
believe
Let me
you can
make
maybe
sure
turn
this
off your video.
works, right?
Yeah.
Can you hear me very, very well now?
Yes. Yes.
You can hear me well now. Okay. So
Yes.
I have a different story, and that's because my journey into computing or into tech started a lot earlier. And so there was nothing like developer community at that time around where I was. And internet was a privilege. It was something really far-fetched even. I started at a very early time in 1998. And so it was a lot different. But because I was very passionate about computing, and I was very passionate about everything computer related, I kept on and on. And my friends from class became my community. They were the people I would run to, and they run to me whenever there is a concern. And God bless the days of disquette. We had some serious disquette life, and the sharing disquette drives up and down was our community story. But over the time, I got to learn that the more people got interested in the internet, not in tech, not in computing, not in anything else but the internet itself, the amazing fact that you could chat with someone you don't know got people interested in tech. The fact that there was something called email that was better than letter writing got a lot more people too interested in tech. And from there, once more people got interested in tech, I became a go-to person to ask questions around tech in a cyber cafe. And then a couple of my friends became that go-to person. And so we just created a Yahoo Messenger group. And that became our story of how the tech community started or how community of some sort started. But
Yeah.
as we went on, I know some companies that were building tech products at the point in time, like Yahoo, Facebook, Google, made it became deliberate about the community, right? It was not intentional at that initial time, but these companies made it deliberate. And after the success stories from these tech giants, every other person building a company now, it becomes like another thought. Let's have a tech community to it so we can support them better and do things better. And that's because the success stories have already been celebrated by the tech giants and it's becoming a norm now. And it's working for everybody. Though it's somehow
Yes.
difficult managing communities, but yeah, so that's how my journey started until this point. And
Yes.
I'm glad to also tell you guys that I'm an organizer of a Google developer group, which is a community in the area where I stay. And yeah, it's a lot interesting. Leading community is a lot interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bruce, for that amazing story. And that's it's so inspiring to see, like, the way you started the communities, and how you shaped them. And it's really amazing to hear that story. So over to you, Aniedi. Would love to hear your thoughts on this and your story.
Yeah, sure. So I'll keep it brief. I know we have
Yeah.
we're back on time. So I've been at Google for approximately 6 years. And prior to joining Google, I was also quite active with I would say, the developer community. So from attending events, turning up, events were always a great place to meet people. There was always free food. There were T-shirts. It was always worth the while, in quote, right? So we would just go for that sort of social connect of people who think and are kind of like growing on the same path as you are. But if I want to date sort of like my origin story with communities, I think it would go back to 2010, when I was quite active with the Drupal community in Nigeria. So that was the community that I would say I sort of caught my teeth with, and just the camaraderie that was built from the first 4 or 5 people that I met, and how we sort of intertwined with other communities. There were things like Mobile Mondays. There was the hubs in Nigeria were just getting set up. So there was a very popular hub, or still is a very popular hub, called Co-Creation Hub Nigeria. And then they used to have this periodic event they called Developers Parkour. This was like developers talking to themselves. It was some sort of a Friday event. So it was a nice place to have a social gathering with people who were just tech, not just friends who were hanging out for some other reason. So I think that was where my sort of community journey started, and I was really very impressed that I could find people I could connect with. I got 1 or 2 job opportunities for there, and I think the affinity and the desire to stay connected was obviously there, because it was a very profitable interaction. So fast forward till today, like I said, very much like Hufsa, I lead developer communities across sub-Saharan Africa for Google, which puts me in charge of about 48 countries. 33 of them are very active, about 160 Google developer groups, and about 200 developer student clubs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super amazing, especially like having all of these stories around GDGs. I've also been like super active into the community for the past 4 or 5 years, and I've seen how GDGs and GBGs and Microsoft or Facebook's communities actually like started off, and how they empowered, like so for me it's actually something that I really love, or I've always enjoyed, is the impact note, the impact that the communities had on my professional and my personal growth. But at the same time, the inspiring stories that we used to have, or we still have, like from our communities, right? People getting the opportunities, and from leading the like I've seen Hafsa's journey, right? It's been super inspiring how she went into tech to support women, and then enabled so many women into tech who are working at all these big tech companies, right? I know I'm going to like go slightly a bit off topic than community, but it's still like pretty much relevant, because I call this topic not just power of joining developer communities, but I feel like it's superpower, right? Like, so what I just want to ask, like roles like you guys have, right, of DevRel at Google. How do you guys see communities, not and by communities I mean online and offline communities, right? Communities around apps, communities around communities for people to actually come do meetups not just offline but online as well, right? Like and then there's like open source communities. So all of these communities, at your respective roles, how do you see them, like being at DevRel, or at like community managers, being the bridge between the engineering and like the community of developers, right? So what's your your day to day your work look like, right, at such a role?
Aniedi, do you want to go first?
Also, feel free, feel free.
Okay. Okay. So I think to answer your question in one line, communities are extremely essential to Google. Why? Because these are the people that we go to whenever we are thinking about, you know, whenever we're thinking about a new feature, whenever we are thinking about product updates. These are the people who are extremely well connected to what we are doing, and they are the ones who give us feedback. So the community members that we have are extremely important. Um, in terms of what we do at DevRel and a few of the things that we are looking at. So we have three main shouts that we always take, which is learn, connect, and grow. I always talk about this in all the events, so probably a lot of people watching this have already memorized this by heart. But I think these three pillars are extremely important to understand. So learning, one of the important aspects that we focus on is to try and empower these community members and these enthusiasts on latest tech, and to update them on what their skill set is all about and how they should be learning and developing so that they're relevant for the industry after they've jumped out of university, or whether they're already in the industry working. So learning is an extremely important skill. Another thing is, of course, connecting with people. I think the power of community, so the superpower of community comes from connecting. So similarly to what Bruce was saying and Aniedi was saying, I think one of the biggest aspects of community is that you find like-minded people where you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts, and where you basically find a voice to what you're thinking and what you're saying. So connecting is another important thing that we try and focus on, to provide our community members this platform where they can connect with others with similar or different backgrounds, so that they can learn from one another, and also so that they can find that voice that they've been looking for. And the third is growth. So whenever you combine learning and connecting, I think it comes with professional as well as personal growth. And I think that growth is not just for the community but also for Google itself. Why? Because we have this community that's giving us feedback, that's telling us this is something that we're enjoying, that maybe this is something that can be improved. So I think these three aspects is what we look at overall. And that's something that we really truly focus on in whatever we are doing. And any
Yeah.
idea you can build up on that if I've missed out on something.
Yeah, I'll just add one thing. So Hamza mentioned a word that was really going through my mind, and that's the bridge. And I think that bridge is, there are very many versions of that bridge, very many perspectives to that bridge. One thing I would say about the bridge is when people come and get started with technology, that bridge is what connects you to the biggest events, whether it's IO, whether it's WDC, whether it's F8, right? You figure out how do you go from someone who's just starting with technology to being a speaker on one of those stages. And I think the other aspect of the bridge is what you talked about, specific communities that are built around technologies, built around frameworks. So when you come into a program like a GDG or a GDSC, it's a bit general and it can be very entry level. But then you find like-minded people that can build around a framework or go start something around machine learning or cloud or big data, or even these days where there's a lot of content around Web3. We're finding people who come initially into these communities and then from there go on to build their own more specific communities that oftentimes some of these base programs do not provide an opportunity to actually give them the content or the community they're looking for. Bruce?
Absolutely. Yeah, Bruce, anything you would like to add on it?
Oh, yes, yes. Very importantly, we should not forget something. Like these skills are in high demand, and people all over the country are looking to get tech related skills. And what communities do for everybody is to create a level playing field and reduce the barrier to entry. Normally, you would want to think of getting into tech by paying the high school fees in the university, or you would want to get into a program by an institution that would charge over $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 just for you to learn software development. But communities create a low barrier to entry. And I think that's one of the most important things that have created success stories for a lot of people that are in tech today. They've just joined the community, they can ask questions and get by. They can also get links to free trainings, free tutorials. They have people available to mentor them from the same community, and they can even land their first job from the same community, which is creating that very lowest barrier to entry. So you can't take away the importance of community in any facet you look at it. That's just what I would like to add.
Yeah, I totally agree to everything that you guys said. Like in terms of getting all those opportunities, as Hafsa said, connect, connect, grow, and I mean, like I forgot, like three. I have to watch it again, like your session sometime. But of course, like learn, connect, and grow or share, right? So there's like different terms, but at the same time, all of the community, the purpose of the community is to create an impact, right? And in individuals and like in people's life, right? But before we so since we're like we're really short on time, before we wrap up this session, although there's so much, like, when it comes to community, I want to talk about, and I want to hear, right? It's just so personal, but at the same time, like, because of the time limit, I'll just ask this last question, and if we can, like, summarize it quickly, which is the question is like, which I want to ask is that why, you guys mentioned about all the benefits to join communities, but just to summarize, why developers should join these communities, what's in it for them, just in like 1-2 lines. Yeah.
I'll go with 2 words. Why
Okay.
not?
Yeah. Yep. So Hufsa, Bruce.
I think that's an excellent summary. Why not? So I'm just gonna stick with Aniedi on this one.
Aniedi will vote for you on this. Would vote for you
Yeah,
on this.
why not?
Why not?
Yeah, why not? So guys, thank you so much for your time, and for being, for confirming your presence at Remote Fest, and, like, for honoring us with your presence, right? I believe, like, it was really informative for the people who were attending the session, and would love to see you guys soon at some other events, and have a great rest of your day. See you guys soon. Take care. Have a good day. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.